Good day, this is meteorologist Kyle Gallagly from the 24/7 Fleetweather Ocean Routing Center. Current time is just after 12 o'clock GMT on the 11th of January 2024. This is a quick overview of the current overall pattern in the open North Atlantic Ocean. We'll start with the latest surface analysis. We have a broad storm circulation in the vicinity of the Azores. We have a broad, fairly strong high pressure ridge here to the north of the UK, and a broad system here impacting the Gulf of St. Lawrence and adjacent waters, with a tightened pressure gradient here impacting parts of eastern Newfoundland and the adjacent waters. So we'll take a look at the latest run of the GFS model from our in-house product. We see this storm circulation here in the vicinity of the Azores remains fairly stationary over the next couple of days, while gradually weakening and broadening as well. This is Saturday the 13th at 12Z. We see the system is now becoming a bit more complex as another piece of energy along the western periphery of the circulation begins to take over as the main focus for the adverse weather with the system as the original circulation begins to fill and lift up to the northeast. As we get into the late part of the weekend and early next week, the system is still here, but it's much weaker and still broad, but it eventually will lift off to the northeast as we get into the middle of next week and impact the Bay of Biscay. We'll go back to present. We see the system here over the Gulf of St. Lawrence. Lifts off to the northeast, broadens, weakens, and is not really much of a factor by the time we get into the weekend. By late week, early this weekend, we have a fairly strong storm here impacting the Great Lakes with a cold front that will move off the U.S. East Coast. This whole circulation continues up to the northeast across eastern Canada with some adverse conditions here south of the Maritimes. And by the time we get into early next week, we have a high pressure ridge here that builds in the vicinity of Bermuda for a relatively brief period of benign conditions. The big story here as we get into next week will be this broad trough of low pressure that will develop across much of the eastern United States. By the Tuesday or Wednesday next week, we'll have an area low pressure here move off the Outer Banks. This quickly moves up to the north and east and rapidly deepens, and the way the models are depicting our forecast data is now showing a fairly potent and broad strong gale to storm force system here east of Newfoundland by the middle to late part of next week. Lastly, we'll take a look at the latest ice situation here off of eastern Canada. Icebergs are still well off up to the north and not really an impact in terms of main shipping routes from North America to and from Europe. And even in the Gulf of St. Lawrence, there's really not a whole lot of sea ice to speak of at this point. But it's something we'll be keeping a close eye on here over the coming days and weeks. Please make sure you subscribe to our channel and follow us on LinkedIn to receive all the latest weather and routing news. Once again, this is meteorologist Kyle Gallagly from the Fleetweather Ocean Routing Center. Stay connected and safe.